skip on the hourly. Let's get close to, yeah, coming back after 4 months. It's crazy. I wanted to do like a fresh session, but then we also have this simulation session going, and I thought, why not go on with that? But let's see if we actually have, what kind of news do we have coming up this week? So we have Powell today. We'll see if we get anything around 7 o'clock. Probably we'll see if we can get anything then. And then we have CPI coming out following day. Nice. CPI. Maybe we should have done this in preparation for the CPI.
For this week.
Yeah. And we still got good moves, so it's okay. Not complaining. Cool. Let's get started then. Anything specific that you guys want to go over? I was thinking of just doing more like top-down analysis, multiple time frame confluence, pair it up with fundamentals, all that stuff that we usually do.
Yeah, I agree.
Take a look at overall structure based off of the weekly time frame. So we are currently sitting at these all-time highs. Got a nice bullish push up at the moment, still continuing that bullish momentum. We have this bit of consolidation in between from May 10th, 2020, and we just remain in this consolidation until 2024. So 4 years of pretty much sitting in this consolidation, finally get that push up above these areas. A lot of that was also fueled by the geopolitical tensions that we had going on. And then right now, sitting at those all-time high levels right around that area. So potentially another area of consolidation before a push. So that tells us that we have opportunities, obviously on gold, to look for trades, but swing trade opportunities, it would be more like a day or two kind of thing. But we have an entire range that we're going to be trading in between. So this would be your 2390.4 area, and then we also have that current week's bottom wick rejection before we come right back into the support of this consolidation level. So that's your range. That's how you're going to narrow in what your range looks like. You could bring this support all the way down here, but again, before you even continue down into that support, you would have to break your own weekly candles bottom wick rejection and get a lot of bearish momentum to continue to the downside. So why not just target that first, and then you're looking for scaling opportunities or another opportunity if you haven't gotten one from the top here for a continuation down. Very high chance when you drop down to lower time frames, if this week we don't have a lot of bearish volume, that price is just going to bounce within this little range itself. So you're probably not even going to get a trade to come all the way down into the support. Come on to the daily time frame, and then same thing here when we're looking at this overall range. You have all this consolidation support here. That's your liquidity area. That's where you see that every time price bounces into this, you get a ton of bullish volume to the upside, right? And then when we come back pretty close to this area, same thing, a lot of bullish volume to the upside. For the most part, we see that on average, price is rejecting right into that resistance. So when we're looking for trading opportunities, we're looking for trades somewhere in between halfway through this range. So then we have a trade opportunity to come back and tap into this resistance. You really don't want to be looking for a buy when price is already that close to the resistance, right? If price is kind of sitting up top here. Because when that happens, a lot of people, they're only looking at some of the lower time frames, 5 minute, 1 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute. They're not looking at the higher time frames. They don't realize that this is a higher time frame resistance. And they're looking for price to push up, let's say, for example, into these areas. But realistically, price can't do that unless you clear this resistance here. So that's why you need to look at higher time frames and do a top-down analysis. So now coming on to the daily time frame, we see that there's another minor resistance here that price is trying to clear out of, which is this, right? So that's the area that we're sitting at right now. And then in the past, when you look to the left, you see that there is a resistance right here too before that massive sell-off. And then same thing here, a resistance and then another sell-off. So we're going to mark that off. And then as we go down to lower time frames, we're going to take a look at what is price doing here Ideally, you would want some break and retest setups here prior to an entry to the upside. Or if you're looking for sells, then you want a resistance being formed there and then a continuation back down, like price has done in the past here. Come on to the 4-hour time frame. We'll zoom out real quick and just confirm that price is tapping into this area. And if price taps into that area multiple times, you know that that's a very strong level. So we have obviously tapped into it as consolidation support once, and then a resistance. So 2 taps, third, right there, break and retest, fourth, fifth, and then right now we're sitting at our 6th. You come onto the hourly time frame, we see that last hourly candle made a massive top wick rejection, came back down, closed bearish. From a fundamental perspective, not much has come out for the US just yet. So in another hour or so is really when you're going to get some high impact news coming out from for the US, which is Fed Chair Powell testifying. So we'll see what pretty much price ends up doing here. But if we're looking for a trading opportunity, what I want to see for the next hour, maybe even 2 hours or so, is price respecting this area for any sells to continue back down. So for sells, I would be entertaining them somewhere around this area here. And if I'm looking for buys, I want price to break above this and then give me a break and retest setup on a 15-minute or a 30-minute time frame. Since this is a high volume time right now in the market where it's 30 minutes before the stock exchange open, we can also drop down to the 5-minute, but that's only going to be for entry. That's not for confirmation. Your confirmation is going to come from 15-minute time frame and higher. That hourly candle that we saw, that is this setup right here where you got that nice push up with that bullish candle closure. Couldn't really maintain that bullish momentum to the upside. The following candle came right back down, closed bearish at the bottom of its own range, so no bottom wick whatsoever. Now we have this new 30-minute candle that's forming, so I want to see how price ends up reacting here. And then 15-minute, pretty much the same thing. So let's drop this to the 15. Play this out. Realistically, now looking at the current times that we're trading, we're not going to be on the charts right now. We're going to be on the charts in 30 minutes or so. So if you guys want, we can skip to that. Or if you actually want to see, pre-market volume, then we can wait. Do you guys want to skip or do you want to wait?
We can skip, I think.
So this would be your market open volume here. So price pushed up, we got a candle closure. The next one pushed up too, didn't really break the highs. So it seems like right now we're potentially sitting in some sort of a consolidation. Come to a 30-minute. 30 minutes also showing you a clear consolidation here. So you don't have buys unless price can clear this. And then once price clears that, then you have buys first targeting this area as partial and then a continuation up. If price is simply rejecting this, high chances you're grabbing liquidity and then we're looking for a setup like this here. But either way, you're not looking for a trade in between because price is sitting in consolidation. Does that make sense? Any questions so far?
Oh,
It's also the week of CPI, so quite similar to the actual market conditions that we saw this week. The market didn't really give you a lot of opportunities for, just to hold on to your trade earlier in the week. And then when CPI came out, we started to see a lot more volume around then. And then if Powell was testifying, then chances are that the market is just waiting for that news to come out for any sort of reaction. So that's why we're sitting at these not all time, but like higher time frame resistance levels. And sometimes like for certain pairs this week, we saw that they were also sitting at like some support levels. But higher time frame resistance and support is really where the market's going to start to grab some more liquidity prior to a continuation in either direction. So we're tapping into that area, which tells me that there might be some bullish momentum, but we haven't had enough just to keep breaking past that. And we have 20 minutes before Powell testifies. And then come onto the daily, that zone that we made is also that top wick rejection on the current daily candle. And then come onto the 4-hour. The 4-hour seems to be same thing, a lot of reactions in this general area. We're trying to break the highs. We have 3 minutes though until this candle closes. And this is going to be about, when this candle closes, that's going to be 15 minutes before Powell makes us or testifies, and then also 15 minutes before a high impact news. So you want to be kind of careful when you're looking at setups like this. So in this case, if you were looking for an entry here, which we're not on this candle because I want to see a candle closure up top there, but if you're looking for an entry here, you would want to test that volume. What that basically means is that as this candle is pushing, you want this high here to be broken. And then when that's broken, that tells you that there's bullish volume to the upside. And you can keep your stop loss below either the current 15 or the previous 15. Previous 15 would be your safest bet instead of the current, because the current one, the candle is still open, right? But if it's breaking those highs after making a bottom wick rejection, there should be no reason for price to come all the way down here and then continue to the upside if there's already a lot of volume there. So last 15 before news comes out. So we're still going to wait because we still haven't had a candle closure above that zone. So we need to wait for an actual candle closure above that zone and then look for the entry, so then we're not getting stuck in a fake out. We're about to get a 5-minute closure. We got a 5-minute closure, nice top wick rejection. And this is 10 minutes before news comes out. So this is also another way you can kind of test the volume. The 5 minutes not going to give you confirmation when you're looking for your like trade or just trade validation. But after you have gotten your trade validation and confirmation across higher time frames, so daily, weekly, 4-hour, 1-hour, 30-minute, 15-minute setting up properly, you're seeing a break and retest there. Then you can drop down to the 5-minute time frame and then narrow in your entry points. That's also a really good time frame if you're working backwards, where a lot of people, they start off with looking at, where am I going to take my entry, and then work backwards from there for like your stop loss and your take profit. You can do the opposite. I like to keep my stop losses pretty tight, so then I drop down to the 5-minute time frame to look at, after I've gotten my confirmations on the higher time frames, I'll drop down to the 5-minute time frame to take a look at where can I actually place my stop loss, where this trade would still be valid if price just continued, but whereas like the first point of exit, if this trade continued in the opposite direction, where I wouldn't incur a massive loss, but that's kind of the first area where price is telling me that, okay, this trade idea is not valid anymore. We almost have an hourly close. You got pretty good volume here on the 5-minute, but we haven't seen any sort of break and retest set up here.
I feel like this is where my FOMO starts to kick in.
On a setup like this?
Yeah, where I'm like, oh, I could just take advantage and just grab it. But then I get stuck in a whiplash or fake out.
You can do that if there was like no high impact news coming out in just a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very high probability that we would have taken that trade as well. My only thing is that Powell is going to be testifying in just a
Yeah.
couple of minutes. So a lot of times what we end up seeing with that, and even like CPI, PPI, or NFP, is whiplashes in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So with the setup like that, like there should be no problem where, you know, you take partials here, the
Mm-hmm.
candle closes bullish above the zone, the next one gives you a bottom wick and keeps pushing into this area. So that could have been your entire trade, right? But with news, like he's testifying right now, so like there's very high chances that we might even see whiplashes here.
Mm-hmm.
So here you get that bottom wick, and then we're trying to see if it's going to keep breaking its own high, and that's a potential entry to the upside if that happens. And then you have to think about, okay, where am I going to place my stop loss? The area that I'm kind of most concerned about, where, you know, I might see more volatility in price, is somewhere around here, which is that entire consolidation. You got that gap fill, those top break rejections and all that stuff. So what I want to see and test is, does the market have enough volume, or this candle have enough volume to keep breaking past that? And a couple of ways to test it is come onto some of the lower time frames, and you're looking at, let's clone this, and you're looking at, you know, if this candle has enough volume to break its own high and keep pushing from there. If it doesn't and it kind of just hangs around here, you know, ideally if you see a break and retest, that's your indication that, okay, there's no problem whatsoever for price to just keep pushing. But if it doesn't have that volume, it doesn't give you a break and retest, it kind of just hangs around here like a weak bullish candle, that tells me that we're not ready to push. Instead, either we're going to consolidate or we're going to see a corrective move based off of these higher time frames, to potentially come back down and tap into these areas and then continue back up bullish, if it is going to continue bullish. Around this time already, you're kind of inching closer to those daily and weekly resistance levels that we had marked off. So you're about to have another 5-minute closure here. And this is going to be also another 15-minute closure. So like so far in the 10 minutes, we haven't had enough volume to even fill that range wick. So now what I'm looking at is, okay, this is, I'm going to pause this right here real quick. Or actually, let's just use this zone. So what I'm seeing now when I'm testing the volume, for example, is, okay, this is my new resistance here. If I'm looking for any sort of buying opportunities, I want price to break above that and continue bullish. And as it does it, then I can look for an entry. Or if I'm looking for any selling opportunities, then I know that I really don't have to be worried about price bouncing off of this here. Instead, what I would be targeting for any selling opportunities then is price breaking, you know, one of these lows right here, and then continue back down. And this would be kind of my next target, somewhere down here, because that's the next support that we see forming. You come onto the 15-minute, that's the 15-minute top wick rejection of the current candle. Same thing, if the next candle breaks that, it continues bullish, we have a buy. If not, and it comes back down, and let's say it breaks this 15-minute low right here, then we have a sell just to come back down into this next support. I'm pretty sure that this is going to give us at least a 1-to-1, but that's where you take your partials. And then if it continues breaking below that, then you have these next areas that you can target. You can come on to the 30-minute, and same thing, if I just extend this out right around here, that's kind of the area that we're talking about, right? That like, okay, if there going to be any trouble here of price just breaking past this. So same thing here, where if price rejects that and doesn't continue bullish, then we're looking for sales to come back down. And then if I just mark off that bottom wick of the current 15 that's sitting right at this little support area. Same thing, break below that, and then next area of target coming into the next support. Does that help? So see, this candle is already like pushing down. It kind of broke the previous high, kind of broke the previous low. That tells me that there's kind of indecision as we're closing out this 15. So this is one way to kind of test the volume of your candles on lower time frames. So notice how the 5-minute isn't really my confirmation, it's just an area that I'm marking off my support resistance. So here we're breaking the previous lows. That tells me that, okay, we potentially have some bearish volume, but I need that 15 low right here to be broken in order for me to take any sort of trade. And that 15 closed weak bullish. So that tells me we're kind of exhausting out on that bullish volume. We're going to break the low. All right, we're breaking the low here. Right there. So let's look for our sell. Stop loss, I'm going to place it right above, or actually right at that resistance right there. Still give this candle enough room. So that is at the high of that previous 15-minute candle. This is the area that we're going to be targeting for our partial. So that's 1.3 to 1. And then if price continues pushing, then ultimately what we want to be targeting is, somewhere down here or so. We're going to keep it here, but as price approaches this level, then we can just hold down the TP, or if you prefer, you can already bring it down to whatever your final TP you think will be, which I think ultimately it might drop to this, just using higher time frames. So I'm going to keep it right here, which is that previous hourly candle's bottom wick rejection. But that's where we're going to take partials. Does this entry and confirmation and multiple time frame confluence make sense for you guys?
Yeah, I liked how we first began like looking at the buy, and then you also still had the consideration of like if it does this though, then we're looking at a sell.
Because this is just a scalp, right? So if I was looking for a short trade or something like that, then I would have like a definite bias, and I would go based on that. But if we're scalping, then you have to be ready for, either. All right, so we're approaching that zone. As soon as it taps into that blue, we're going to take some partials here. And then increase the TP. About a few minutes until this 5-minute closes. Looking at the 15, nice top wick, and kind of covered all this volume that we had just to tap right into that support. Five-minute pulls back, but still no top wick, so that tells us that we haven't even tried going bullish whatsoever yet. Still a lot of bearish volume. Next one gives you a little bit of top wick, but starts just pushing. So let's see if this one's going to tap into the blue zone. So we have room to take partials for sure. I think we started off with a $5,000 account. Yeah, because total profits is 2,400. We're sitting at 7,400 right now. Check the 30. 30 has also broken the previous 30 low. Five minutes already breaking the previous 5-minute low right off the bat, which tells me no problem tapping into that zone, but that zone is where we need to be careful. All right, so we're in the zone. We're going to close partial here. We close out 50%. And then we're going to increase the TP. And for that, we're going to use higher time frames. So I'm going to mark off kind of right into this area here first. And then if price can keep pushing, breaking the previous hourly lows, come and taps into this area. Then again, you manage your trade. At that point, we can also trail our stop loss. I think we would have enough room to do that. And then also, you know, if you want to take more partials, you can do that then too. I'm not moving my stop loss just yet because we haven't cleared this zone here. So very high chance that, you know, price can bounce around here like it did here. So something like pushing back up, correcting the sell-off just to create, you know, potential lower high, kind of hang around here if we don't have anything else coming up for the rest of the day, or simply just makes a lower high and then just continues pushing from there. So either of those could happen. See, everything else is low impact. And then tomorrow is CPI. So you got that 5-minute closure, which reacted right off that zone. You come onto the 15. The current 15 is open, but broke the previous 15 low. Barely a top wick on the current 15, which tells me that we had a lot of bearish volume to start off with in this time zone or in that time frame. 30-minute, same thing, no top wick right off the bat. We're kind of breaking the lows here. And then hourly is just pushing with a ton of volume to the downside. And then 4-hour had a nice top wick rejection, but it seems like we're coming right back down here. And then same thing for the daily. We'll trade the CPI one over this weekend. We'll do another simulation session. And then for that one, I will have you guys take the trades and do the analysis. All these candles right here in a row, a ton of bearish volume to the downside. Barely a top wick. And just keep breaking our own lows. As we tap into this area, I'm going to pause it again just to take some partials. I want to see a candle closure here, still below that zone. And then ideally, if we get a 15-minute one, then we can also decrease our stop loss. But overall, this trade is still going to end up profitable because we've already taken partials. All right, you got that 5-minute closure. Massive bottom wick rejection, comes back and closes bullish. That tells me that at some point we're going to end up getting some sort of a pullback on the 15 or 30. See some corrective moves. Ideally, that's what you want to see if you want your trade to just continue running down instead of a straight drop, because that shows you a lot more volatility with that. And there's higher probability of whiplashes or like fake outs and things like that if the market just keeps dropping or the price just keeps dropping. So if you want like a healthier move down that you can just hold on to for like a swing trade, day trade, any of that, ideally you want to see some retest happening here. So 15-minute, we closed right at the zone. Didn't really get a closure below that. 30-minute, we're still pushing. And then 5-minute close right at that zone. So that doesn't give me enough confirmation just yet to trail my stop loss. At most, I can probably keep it right above the entry point, but price really should not be breaking above this area if it is going to continue pushing back down. So if you want, we can do that right now too. So like, let's say somewhere around here. So you're still giving it room to like make any wick rejections and all that. And then in about 10 minutes is really when I would be out of the, or off the charts, not really trading or actively watching the charts either, like in the real markets in real life. So then what I would do in that case for risk management is wherever price ends up in the next 10 minutes, I would take some partials around that. I've already trailed, or not trailed, but like reduced my stop loss. So in either way, I would still end out profitable with this trade. I would have, my profits would exceed like whatever amount, even if price did, push back up and hit my stop loss, my profits will still exceed that amount. So I would still get out profitable out of this trade. But if price just ends up consolidating and then pushes back down, and then I keep my TP right at that level, then again, best case scenario, your TP is hit, you're still profitable. But that's how I would manage my trade in real life. Another 5-minute closure right below the zone, kind of like right at it. So then let's say I'm pretty much getting ready in real life to, step away from the charts, kind of done. So what I would do here is close part. So close another 50. I have a very small amount now compared to the overall trade that I had entered with. I've decreased my stop loss, so I have reduced my risk exposure to this trade. And now I'm just letting everything else run. And I'm going to keep the same TP here too. So we'll give it this 5-minute closure, and then after that, we'll just skip through to see what the market would end up doing. But we're done trading at this point, so we're not managing our trade anymore. I've already managed it. I've reduced my risk. I've taken partials. I have a very small trade running at this point, and then we're just going to skip through to see what the trade does, and then we will be coming back, the following day, and then trading then.
So can you replicate that by just clicking the candles through to see? Like you stepped away, right? So like you're not looking at it.
Yeah. So this is what would be happening. Ultimately,
Nice.
TP would come and hit, but that would be like 2.5 hours after, supposedly done.
Cool. I needed to see what that looked like.
Yeah, for sure. So then looking at our trades, this is all from like last time we traded back in like February, but this is from today. So we took that sell entry, we got out with about $88, which was closed by us manually. History, I like that. Right here, open by user, closed out with $88 profit, another partial, closed with 37, and then closed by TP, got another 95. So I think we started off with a $5,000 account because that's what the overall realized profit and loss is so far. So $5,000 account, and then over a span of, this is all of July trades. So like 10 days, 9 days from July 2nd to the 10th, we're up 2,600. I'm sure we've had not a loss trade so far 15 profitable trades. We're gonna trade CPI. CPI, yeah. We're gonna trade CPI tomorrow. So we'll do a simulation session tomorrow, and then PPI on Sunday, and we'll try to do like a interest rate one. So we'll do a couple of simulation sessions over the span of the next few days just to prepare for the interest rate release that's coming up this week.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. All right. See you guys. Have a great Friday.